Derek is drinking, so I'll introduce this episode of the Carmudgeon Show, which is driven by Hagerty. My name is Jason Cammisa. That is Derek Tam Thirsty-Scott.
And this episode of the Carmudgeon Show is about, it's kind of a car.
It's definitely a car.
Not a truck?
Definitely a truck.
Okay. It's a car. It's a truck.
That there is a car.
It's the long life vehicle. The Grumman long life vehicle.
We're talking about the LLV that I covered in a recent last week's episode of Revelations. The revelation here is I would own one.
So this is the male truck.
This is the male truck, as opposed to the female truck. I wanted so badly to make a joke about like gender in there, and I'm like, I'm just gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna piss everyone off.
Yeah, you're gonna find some way to stuff it, and then it's not gonna work well for you. So,
but male truck. Yes. So if Derek claps, we can get on with it. Oh, we're back to your shitty garbage. That makes me so happy. A couple weeks there, you did really well. You got me nervous. You had me worried.
Well, that's all over now. Okay, on to the jingle.
Just gonna sit here and look at each other, or are we gonna start this shit?
Well, it would be difficult for the people who are listening because then they have nothing to consume. It'll just be silence.
Oh, well, for the record, we've been sitting here staring at each other in silence, blinking for the last 40 minutes.
We're just thawing.
Yes, it is winter. I just drove in snow twice, once up in Tahoe and once in Michigan. Not ready for that.
Oh, well, how did it go?
It was fine. Everything was completely fine and totally under control in my Corolla rental car and then in a Tesla Model S.
What kind of tires?
Not Fredesteins.
Not Fredesteins.
Yeah. But I did do something really fun. I signed up for my first local autocross. So I did an autocross a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, in the Lotus. This is the first time I've seen one super close. So this was at Sonoma Raceway, which is like 20 minutes away from me. And I was filming with Randy Pobst. We were doing a forthcoming episode that I'm not going to tell you anything about. It's amazing. But I said, hey, Randy, you want an autocross? Oh yeah, I want to be there. And so I'm like, here, just take one of the cars. And so he signs up and we show up at this autocross only to find out it's actually not timed. So I put the Meta Ray-Ban asshole glasses on and timed our runs anyway. So I brought the e-Golf and Beatrice. What say you? Which one is quicker around a racetrack? Hold on. First, before I say that, who's quicker around a racetrack? An SCCA Hall of Fame race car driver who had his start in SCCA solos, i.e. autocross, and is the most amazing driver I've ever been in the car with, or me?
Why, is this a trick question?
I don't know. What's your guess?
One would assume Randy Pobst.
One would assume Randy Pobst. And that would be the case in the e-Golf by 0.3 of a second. Would not be the case. I beat Randy.
Huh.
If I put our runs together.
What did he autocross in the day?
Front-wheel drive Golfs.
But that's what I was thinking about.
Here's the thing. I beat him by 0.75 of a second, which is an eternity. However, this is not a timed event and there's no one doing cones, like cone duty.
So you think the course was evolving?
No, there was one cone in particular that was in the middle of a very tight slalom right at the exit, right at the finish line, and there was one cone missing that was the apex cone for the second one, and I blew right through it, and that's where I got most of the 0.75 of a second.
Oh, you cut the apex because the cone was missing. That defines the apex.
I was a couple of hundredths in front of him, and I am not
opportunistic.
Yeah. No, that's fair. All's fair, and whatever else. But I do not consider myself to be anywhere close to the league of Randy Pobst. I am extraordinarily happy with myself that I was able to keep up with that man in both of those cars. I mean, to be within. He estimated I was 4 seconds slower than he was. And he was in the car with me. He's like, you're overdriving this, you're doing that. And he was yelling at me. He's such a great instructor because he has no control over his mouth once you're moving. And he's just brutally honest. But his feedback got me really close to his time or to beat his time. The only place I was actually faster was in the transitions at the end because I wasn't afraid to turn, lift, and get the car sideways through the last transition. And that's where I made up that whole 0.75, including the cone. But anyway, both of the cars were on Fredestein tires. The e-Golf was on the 18s, which means Fredestein All-Track Pros, which are the
this is a
summer
performance summer tire?
Yes, high performance, ultra high performance summer. Also, we should also say this episode is sponsored by Fredestein Tires, which we didn't say. That event was not sort of part of our sponsorship agreement, but these are tires that Fredestein did send us, a year ago now to test. And I have some observations. But the e-Golf was on my summer setup, which is 18-inch sort of GTI size All-Track Pros. That car does now have 034 Motorsport camber caster front control arms and a rear sway bar. Beatrice is a full spec E30 setup, except for street sport springs instead of the race springs. But it's got the big bars, a lot of camber, a lot of grip, and it's on RT660, Falcon Azenas RT660, which are a 200 tread wear, very aggressive summer tire. But it's probably a little slower out of the corners and it's rear drive. You tell me which is faster.
I'm going to guess the e-Golf.
I would have thought so, actually, too.
However.
And so would Randy. But Beatrice was quicker.
Really?
Yeah. Not tremendously, but significantly. It was significant. Ultimately, it came down to the tire grip. Those All-Track Pros were initially, when I put them on, I think I said on this podcast a couple of times, they were true competitors to the Pilot Sport 4S that I had on the car. As I've driven more and more miles on those tires, they've sort of faded away. They're not as grippy as they were. And I know this because I can now spin tires. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, but yeah, some similar thing. Where those
Michelins are like unreasonably able to survive abuse in a way that no other tire I've ever encountered can. I
mean, the PS4Ss were effectively bald and crunchy. They were so hard from so many heat cycles. By the time I got rid of them and I could finally get wheel spin and acceleration in a straight line, now 3,000 miles into the Fredesteins, I can get wheel spin. If I'm
at exactly the same time you were doing this autocross at Sonoma, I was doing a track day at Sonoma in 5-year-old, too many heat cycles to count 4Ss. And at the beginning of the day, they were a little sketch, but they kind of warmed and like thawed out and then just came back and were like quite grippy by the end of the day. They weren't like nearly like they were when they were new, but there was a dramatic improvement from the beginning to the end of the day as they sort of thawed.
So there's tire advice from Derek. Just take shitty old tires and run with them on the track. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. I mean, they have plenty of tread. They're just 5 years old and have seen a lot of life.
They're totally fine.
Yeah.
But
ready for a 200 tread wear tire or less for that car now, for the GTI. This is for the GTI. Yeah. I was there also in a Porsche that had Continentals and it was doing fine.
Yeah, you should go for really aggressive. I mean, if a car that's your GTI is unwilling to rotate.
Correct.
And so you might as well take advantage of outrageous amounts of grip.
Yes, exactly. So I'm thinking about the Nankang CRSs. Those seem to be the hot tire for now for that kind of duty.
I don't know too many about them. All I know is that the All-Track Pros are about to come off because it's winter season, and I look at the forecast and it's just rain, and my e-Golf's rain.
Go to the not Ecopias. You have another Fredestein tire on your 16s, Quadtrax.
But I noticed that on a full charge after the autocross, it was estimating 60 miles of range, 59 or 60 miles of range, and I thought, autocross is not efficient.
Huh.
But now,
in other news,
right?
Stay tuned for more insights you won't get anywhere else on the Carmudgeon show.
Shocking autocrossing, but Anyway, so that was
how many MPG did Beatrice get?
0. I don't know. Who can say? It doesn't have a trip computer. She's a shitbox. So that happened. Autocross thing. You did a track day at Sonoma Raceway.
Yeah,
and survived.
And survived. I was driving my 1982 Porsche 911, which, the gearbox is cantankerous. It was formerly used as a track car, so it was capable, but it was the oldest car by at least 15 years, I think. I don't think there was the next oldest car was an E36 M3, I think. God. So it was by far the oldest car, and everyone was like, "Wow, it's really cool to see this old shitbox out here." Those weren't the words they used, but it was their sentiment implied. Yeah. But I was certainly working harder than anybody else and going the same speed.
It's okay. If you can keep up with cars that are 15 years newer and newer.
I mean, yeah, it depends what it was. I wasn't passing any GT3 RSs, but I could certainly keep up with S2000s and stuff like that were in my group. So we had a good time with that. And then the following weekend, I ran a rally with the car. So it's just earning its keep.
Well, good. That's why we have it. That's insert the Hagerty boom, boom, boom.
Never stop driving.
Thing, yeah.
I've stopped driving long enough to record the Carmudgeon show.
Yeah, you drove here in an old car.
Yes.
Thus increasing Hagerty's liability footprint, and therefore you'll probably get a letter from our insurance folks. I'm kidding.
I have driven this car like 100 miles in the last 3 months or 4 months.
That's
since August.
Terrible. That's terrible. Mm-hmm. Now it's moving into winters. Do you switch cars for winter? No.
Oh, we live in California.
Do you drive anything in the rain?
No, I don't drive anything in the rain, but I won't. But if it's raining today, then it probably won't be raining in 4 days. So I will just drive the car in question, whatever it is.
I've become very soft about driving cars in the rain. I just drove the 850 CSI in the rain, and I hated it because I'm like, now I have to clean it.
Oh, I don't. As long as the car is watertight and has tires that are appropriate, I'm happy to drive it in the rain. I drove the SC in the rain, and it's not watertight, as it turns out. The trunk was full of water, and also the footwell on the back, which is where the ECU is. So I think that in the future I won't drive that car in the rain. But it's perfectly grippy.
You could also fix the leaks.
That sounds hard. Okay. I don't know where it's coming from. Actually, I do know where it's coming from. It's coming through the windshield seal in the front and dripping on my legs and then ending up in the footwell. Yeah.
That's like the Rover. We bought that car in Edmonton.
Oh, yes.
Drove it through torrential rain, and the trunk filled up, but nothing else did. And then the last year before I crashed it, I was at a Cars and Coffee, and it was raining pretty good, and I was sitting with an umbrella, and I'm like, why are the windows so fogged up in the Rover? And I walked over to it, and water was pouring out of the steering column. Like there was an actual puddle in the driver footwell. So I brought it home and I drove it out. No, I just was in Michigan and I just saw the Rover and it started with its new engine. Don't tell anyone. And then
what?
That's the TBD that'll be out on YouTube shortly. But I noticed there's a tube hanging under the passenger footwell. I was under there futzing with some the driver footwell and futzing with some stuff, and I'm like, this tube goes into the A-pillar. So apparently,
it drains directly into the footwell for your convenience. Thank you, British Leyland.
I don't know where it was supposed to go or what it was supposed to do, but I don't think it was
presumably.
No, that's stupid.
It's British Leyland.
Yes. Yeah. So it's been the last couple of months for me have been nuts with travel. Mm-hmm. So if any of you are excited about Thursday team content on the Hagerty channel, you're going to be very happy because
I don't know if the general public knows that your stuff always comes out on Thursday.
Some people do, yeah. So I don't like calling it Jason content or Cammisa content. So we call it Team Thursday or Thursday content. So we just did 2 revelations that came out. That was 129 and oh my God, I'm having a stroke. I smell toast, Grandma. So what the fuck was the other revelations I did?
Well, I know the ones that haven't come out yet. Actually, when you watch this, the LLV one will have come out.
Well, yes, but hold on. But Alpine. All right, so we had Alpine in sort of short order. We have Alpine A110, both those cars, and then
that just came out
a month ago.
I feel like you shot it in August.
I know, but we had a slow summer. We were just sort of stockpiling stuff. And now we just did 2 other revelations. One, which is Grumman LLV, which is the subject of today's episode.
Is now live.
And is now live. Should be live. And then another one, which was a 2-car one, which 2 BMWs. And I don't want to say any more than that. Plus 2 Cooters, 2 drag races, plus an ultimate something else that we did, plus a documentary on another car. We have a lot coming out. Our poor editors.
I can hear the audience frothing or vibrating with excitement or whatever.
What is never mind. So it's been kind of crazy. Plus I did a visit to Michigan to visit the Rover, and
its new engine.
That was cool. Got to be there for the first start, which was kind of cool. Anyway, but the latest revelations. Oh, and then we did those 2 retrospective. That's the other thing. The 2 retrospective episodes. One.
I've only seen one.
You saw the main one, not the drag race?
Oh yes, I haven't seen the drag race.
Drag race was kind of fun, but it puts in perspective how far we've come, or maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, you hinted at that in the main episode between this discussing the C63 and the CT4.
I mean, part of me thought maybe that drag race could have been we could have just done it all in one episode, but that retrospective initial episode had gotten so long when we were scripting that we're like, let's just make that drag race short. And that was against the CT4V Blackwing, which is currently the best driving sports sedan on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. And then
available new.
And then, so for this one, we used a Golf R as a bogey of like, this is what a fast car is. And it was kind of interesting to see.
For that price point or power level. Well, not even. It's it's down by more than 100 horsepower.
Yeah, but it's
got four-wheel
price
drive.
Adjusted. How did we come to this? This is like now 5 months ago that we decided we locked these cars in. How we came up with Golf R. Well, first of all, it was new for 26. And we thought it would be a compelling race because you don't want to put something like, you want to make a race that's so obvious.
You don't want to put a 700 horsepower Cayenne.
But it has been 18 years since C63, RS4, and M3 were out, the E90 M3. And so we thought, let's see what today that's, what's comparable. And it turned out Golf R is right there in the mix. In theory, because it was 125, 126 degrees actual Fahrenheit that day, and the Golf R derated instantly. I think we talked about this right afterwards. I did make an Instagram post where you could I pasted together the two videos of the two runs, and it's just unbelievable how slow the Golf R got after one run. It was not happy.
Too hot.
The old cars, the naturally aspirated cars, were like, we don't care. So kind of neat. But Grumman,
right?
My favorite revelations ever, I think.
Yeah, I'm potentially there with you. I think it's interesting. It should be interesting to people who aren't car-oriented also. And I think that one of the thoughts that I had while watching it was, wow, this transcends and crosses over to a place, obviously because of the content, and you talk about this more than once in the video, that it is ubiquitous and that it will therefore have personal relevance to everyone in some sense.
I hope so.
Maybe they don't want the technical detail about it, but I think it's also delivered in plain enough terms that someone who has no interest in cars would consume it with interest, which I don't think is often true of sort of enthusiast car content. So
cool. I'm happy to hear you say that.
Credit for that.
Thank you. This was one that initially, I think internally I was met with a little bit of resistance. Like, you want to do
internally?
This?
Really?
Yeah. And then,
as soon as I heard the three letters come out of your mouth, I was like, absolutely.
But
and
you knew what the name of the thing
yeah,
is.
LLV.
Right?
Yeah.
No one knows what this thing's called, which I love.
Well, I have a friend who's very keen on esoteric knowledge like that. And so that's not the most esoteric thing that I happen to know, but
I mean,
it's my specialty.
It was kind of a bitch to get research done.
Yes,
on this
I can
no
imagine.
books written on this thing, which is amazing given that they're everywhere. I mean, but the weird thing is we have another friend in common who's another one who's like loves esoterica. And I said something about, I'm going to do this. He was like, the sound of that Iron Duke is like nothing else. And I'm like, how the fuck did you know there was an Iron Duke in there? And he's like, everyone knows that the Grumman LLV has an Iron Duke in it. I'm like, I did not know who Grumman was, what an LLV was, and that it had an Iron Duke. And what? And he was just like, yeah, duh. It's just so funny that some people are like, yes, this is the mail truck, and everyone knows.
They live in
Mike
their world. They live in their little world where that stuff is common knowledge.
I will say that, first of all, this thing arrived. The owner, I found it on Facebook Marketplace, and it had already sold. And so
what's the process with putting one in private hands? Is there anything against it? Do they go to government auctions and anyone can therefore buy one?
They're not supposed to be. They're supposed to never go into, it's my understanding that they're not supposed to go into private hands. And occasionally everyone slips through and is just sold to the public. All I knew is I found it on Facebook Marketplace. It was marked as sold, and I had our producer Liv reach out to the seller and say, like,
she's
hey,
also the mailbox in the video.
She performs the mailbox.
The mailbox presentation.
She made the outfits. She made the USPS outfits too. She's amazing with like props and.
Man, I hope you don't get a cease and desist from the federal government.
It is a felony to impersonate a. But that is only.
Well, don't worry. There's no documentation of it.
No video or anything.
Yes.
We bought sort of like, we bought the hat, we bought whatever, and she bought patches and just sort of sewed them on. What were we saying? Saying about
Iron Duke.
No, or
getting into public hands.
Oh, no. Okay, so she contacted the seller, and the seller is like, "Oh, yeah, this sounds totally great. I'll put you in touch with the buyer." And the buyer is like apparently a fan of the show of Revelations, and was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So we shipped it down from Pacific Northwest. We shot it here, and then shipped it on its way. So kudos to both the seller and the buyer of this car. But I gotta say, I would have bought it had it still been for sale. There is no other car I've ever driven where you can be completely anonymous. No one notices you're there. You can do anything in Grumman because and this one doesn't say USPS
except
on it.
for 0.6G. You can't do
you
that.
can't see that. But no one notices you. You can park anywhere. And then I barely drove this thing, but I realized like normally when we set up on the side of the road for our for our climb up the hill
sequence, yeah.
I'm always nervous when putting cameras on the car. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to upset people. And there's always like there's a crowd of like old ladies and old men that walk by that are like doing the mall walking thing.
Yeah.
And usually they make a big fuss over the car or they just, give us a dirty look. And my response is always, good morning. Like, I just want them to know I'm a part of the community. I live here. I'm not like some dickbag in a Porsche making,
noise
and whatever. That thing, they didn't even look at. There were 2 other cars that were right there.
Were you in costume?
No.
When you did
yet.
it?
No, I was a second later. I changed into the Mailman Mike costume. If you know Pee-wee's Playhouse, that was Mailman Mike. Anyway, they were just like, they just nodded and walked on. And I'm like, oh my God, you could do anything. You just park this thing in front of the Louvre and knock it off and no one's going to notice that you're knocking off.
I think they'd notice at the Louvre. You'd have to be at an
you
American
museum. Grumman LLV. Yeah, I just thought it was so cool. I would have bought it.
And then what would you have done?
Oh my God, one every Cars and Coffee. It's just a joy machine.
It's the replacement for the e-Golf. You should powertrain swap. I think the range would be impacted adversely, although the luggage areas, or the storage area is large enough that you could have a substantial range. So that's Jason's replacement for the e-Golf. He laments no replacement, that there's nothing to replace the e-Golf. It's an EV.
There's one thing the e-Golf does really well, which is handling, as witnessed by the fact that it was within, I think, a half second of the race spec E30 that Grumman doesn't do.
So it's not athletic.
No. The hill climb was
the
entire hill climb was in second gear. It would not give me a first, even if I asked it to.
It's a 3-speed
it's
automatic.
It's a 3-speed automatic. I did force it to rev higher a couple times. This engine is a bit sick. As witnessed, it's in the ad, so we knew this. So I was trying to be nice to it, but I was matted the whole way up the hill.
That doesn't sound like being nice to it.
It was when I was watching temperature gauges, matted at 3,000 RPM, probably. I don't know how fast. There was no tach. It actually was way quicker than I expected it to be, and rode better than I expected, which is a very low bar.
Do you think that was the longest drive ever performed in an LLV? Was your 6 miles?
Continuous without turning off? Yeah. Probably. I mean, of all of the stats in that video, and some of which were pretty mind-blowing, the one that got me the most is the average LLV stops and starts, meaning turned off and turned back on, more than 500 times a day, but only covers 17 miles a day.
Yeah.
So they only go 5,000 miles a year. Like, I expected these things to go, I don't know, 50, 60, 80,000 miles a year would have been my guess. Nope, 5,000. That's it. It's just 120 feet from mailbox to mailbox to mailbox to mailbox. It's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
And I encourage everyone, after you watch the video, so go watch the video on the Hagerty's YouTube channel. That's, Revelations Grumman LLV. Then go look up the actual tests from Texas. What the hell was the name of the town in Texas? Lubbock. There's a video that we embedded in our video from the USPS of the torture test that they put these things through when they were deciding between Grumman and 2 other finalists for this RFP. The pothole tests. So it had to hit 35,000 potholes in, I don't remember how many miles was. So it's like 35 miles an hour, 35,000 potholes over 960 miles
or something.
Right? Which is like 1 every 35 feet. And you think, oh, okay, they're hitting a little pothole. Holy shit. Like, you watch the video and you listen to the sound of this thing clattering and you realize the person in that car died the next morning, like from their injuries.
Blunt force trauma to excessive jiggling. It's like shaken baby.
Oh yeah. We were hysterical watching this footage. Like, holy shit. No wonder these things are all still on the road.
Yeah.
20, 30, 40 years later.
But it's just a Chevy S10. So is this a testament to Chevy S10s?
So it was apparently, this I couldn't verify. So I will say, I did work with my local postmaster who was amazing. And she was like, I'm going to help you with everything. And I'm going to get you all this stuff. And I'm going to get you access to, there are service centers all around. And there's one right over here, right nearby, where they actually service them. And all I wanted to do was show up with donuts and lunch and sit down with the mechanics and talk about like what breaks. Mm-hmm. Of course, because it's a government organization. The second corporate heard about this, they were like, yes, we're interested in helping you, but they needed 1 to 2 months lead time to set up me showing up. I'm like, guys, don't need lead time. We need to know your questions in advance. I'm like, there's not going to be any cameras here. I just want to shoot. I work on cars. They work on cars. I want to shoot the shit with a bunch of mechanics and talk about, give me some fascinating examples of like what goes wrong. Like I want to know how many starters you replace a year. Do you have to put each one of these things on a battery tender overnight just to make sure it's charged for the next morning because it's going to be started 497 times the next day? They were like, we need 2 months. And I was like, well, fuck you. Then they were actually willing to give me an actual USPS Grumman LLV.
Still in service.
Yeah, still in service in the studio. I don't think they were going to let me drive it, and probably would have been upset if I showed up in the mailman Mike outfit. But either way, turns out they were of no use
because of the timeline.
Because of the timeline, and just because they're probably trying to cover their own ass. But all I was doing is complimenting. Like the post office made took a huge step, and this is all right. So the backstory is in the 1980s. There were a million different models of mail truck. You know the Jeep. You say you remember them?
Yeah, I remember them from when I was a kid.
I don't remember them.
You don't remember the Jeep ones?
No, I know. Who paid attention to mail trucks? Not me.
I did. Really?
Yeah.
They had to have been in use when you were a child. They were still in use when I was a child.
Horse-drawn carriage when I was a child, but when I was in college.
You had the Studebaker.
No, still not. No, it's horse-drawn. No, I guess I just never paid too much attention to mail trucks. But so in the early 80s, the Postal Service realized that they were spending a lot. There was a lot of inefficiency in having multiple makes and models.
This is like what Southwest Airlines does. Southwest Airlines uses one airplane only, right? Most airlines, they only use a Boeing 737, and they have for almost the entire duration of Southwest Airlines' existence since the early 70s or late 60s.
That's
probably
smart.
Early 70s. They only have one airplane.
You stock one set of parts. You get one trained mechanic and one pilot. Right?
Yep.
That's smart.
Most airlines, will have, I don't know, probably a dozen. If it's a big mainline carrier that does international service and short haul, they'll have dozens of permutations of airplanes.
And you can only have, each pilot is only certified on 1 or 2 planes,
Correct.
right? Yeah.
Correct.
And that was the genius, right? Like where we have Jeeps, they had Chevy Citations, they had Ford Pintos, they were just minivans later on. And so if they decided to put a proposal out for a purpose-built mail delivery vehicle, or there's a different term for it, whatever. And so they put out the specs. It had to weigh less than 3,000 pounds. It had to get X amount of miles per 22 miles per gallon or whatever it was in this testing, and then had to survive this torture test, but had to have 100 cubic feet of storage. Like they just spelled out exactly what the thing needed to be.
Typical government RFP.
But more important, like very, very smartly, they said like the body needs to be aluminum because at that time, 5 to 8 years was the life expectancy of vehicles because they were just rotting out. And so the body was aluminum and the panels were riveted in that were individually replaceable, no complex curves to keep the cost down. Just kind of really a great thing to do to say, all right, we're going to throw out all of the vehicles that we have in the fleet and replace them with one engine, one car. So we can stock one set of everything and train mechanics on one car. And then also train the postal delivery people on how to interact with one thing. It was a brilliant design. I say in the video that it was well loved by the postal workers, and it was initially. It's hated now. Like, so we were in here filming and I heard a Grumman, I heard an Iron Duke, and I ran outside in my outfit, and the mail guy's right outside this mailbox right out here. And he's looking at me. I'm like, whoa, come on back here. And he's like, huh? And I'm like, what do you think? How do I look? And he's like, excuse me? And I'm like, look in there. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, he didn't even know what it was called. He had never heard the name Grumman. Super nice guy. Actually has a Pontiac Solstice that I will probably use for a Revelations episode. Like we wound up having like a 45-minute like hangout session, but didn't know what it was. He said it was a 1970s something underneath. It's an 80s Chevy S10. No one knows what these things are. And he, like all postal service Postal carriers
Currently.
now hate it because it has no air conditioning. They ride like shit. They have no safety features. You can't stand up. Annoyingly, in the video, I stood up and smashed my head, and I didn't realize that Anthony Esposito was filming only the box of stuff that I have. We did that take like 15 times. I had an actual egg on my head for like a week after that, and you don't even know, but I was like, ow, and I meant it. Like I kept hurting myself. You can't stand up in the thing. I mean, it's got a bunch of functional
shortcomings,
big shortcomings. But initially, they were so much better than the adapted Jeeps and the adapted everything else.
Yeah, I mean, just the internal volume that it carries is a significant improvement.
Yeah. And it was time to do this because that new Oshkosh NGDV, new generation delivery vehicle, came out, and it's just laughable to look at.
Yeah.
And that postal service employee I was talking to, by the way, was like, the new thing is never going to work. And I'm like, why? Because it's ugly? Like, because it's stupid? And he's like, no, because it's so tall, we can't make it through our neighborhoods around here without hitting trees. Like, they're going to hit branches. They're that tall. And I'm like, oh, I guess that is a part of like a problem with a vehicle that's so tall. That
yeah, but Amazon trucks and freaking like transits make it through there.
That's a fair point. I don't know. Is it taller than that? I don't know.
No, I don't think it's any taller than like a Ford Transit.
Looks it. I don't know.
That's because it's got a very low hood for visibility.
Yeah. I haven't seen one in person. But they're...
You'd remember.
That is a...
Never forget.
Unfortunate looking thing. But it has ABS. It has airbags. It has real seat belts.
Air conditioning,
blind spot warning, backup camera. I mean, every LOV has like look before backing up or whatever written on it, because I'm sure people ran over stuff all the time. You can't see anything.
It's a placard inside the vehicle.
It's painted onto the dash. And that thing is fucking tall. Like, I had to remove stuff to get it in and out of this studio, and nothing has ever come within 3 feet. Like,
really, even the Elmu too?
Right in. Wasn't even close. Yeah, this thing is huge in its tallness.
But no other respect. The wheelbase you said is 100.5 inches. That's identical to the first generation. I know the first generation Range Rover was half an inch shorter. The 100-inch station wagon.
To me, the whole thing appears small. When it was picked up, the truck driver was complaining that it was so wide it wasn't going to fit on his truck. I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, because
those rubber thingies,
the bumper goes out probably a foot and then wraps around. But it was, hold on. We are being shown a picture right now of Grumman and that new thing. That thing wouldn't fit in this, forget about it, in the building. That thing has got to be 3 feet, 2.5 feet taller than the Grumman.
It's
Holy
like
shit.
A lot bigger. Yeah. But I don't think it's, we'll see if it's any bigger than a Transit or a Sprinter, which are now everywhere.
I just want an LS swapped Grumman.
I think you want an EV one.
No, I want cam
I
chop.
think EVs would make a great solution for mail carrier vehicles if they're only going 5 miles a day.
Well, that's the NGDV. 70% of them, of that 70% new one, I think, have to be EV. But like to go to Cars and Coffee, I want an LOV with cam chop.
Okay.
Come on, wouldn't that be fun?
Sure. You could make the mid-engine one, like that Ford Transit Jaguar XJ220 powered thing that they did.
You don't even need to do that. You can keep the cargo carrying capacity intact and just, it's an S10. It's a Chevy S10.
So is an S10 as durable?
So I'm sorry, I interrupted myself with a long-winded pile of bullshit. One of the things I wanted to know is what was different from S10. I read in a couple of places that it was beefed up suspension. And so what I expect is that sort of idea, like stiffer springs, maybe, stiffer bushings or something else like that. But it only weighed 3,000 pounds and it could only carry 1,000. So,
which was a lot.
Well, that is a lot, but I'm saying it's not like that much more than an S10 would have been.
Sure.
I don't think.
Yes.
So I doubt it needed to be, other than that outrageous test that they did in Texas. I don't think it needed to be that much tougher than an S10. And by the way...
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering is, would an S10 therefore do all that as well?
Probably. I mean, cars are tough. 35,000 potholes is a lot, but not if you live in Manhattan. I mean...
Yeah, parking is harder.
Market Street in San Francisco. I mean...
Yeah.
I think that was just one of the coolest
How was
cars.
it dynamically?
So what Rob, unfortunately, our editor, cut out was I locked up a couple wheels coming down the hill. And going up the hill, it was just flat in second, like just keep slow and steady with all the dogs chasing me. And if you haven't watched the video, please do, because it's hilarious. And on the way down, I'm like, no BS. Remember, engine's sick. I have no idea what mechanical condition this car is in, right? We don't know. It was just sold. The new owner's never even seen it. Like, maybe it has brakes, maybe it doesn't. So I was sort of cautious. I'm coming down the hill, and there's one corner that's sort of a bit of a decreasing radius, sort of loses camber and whatever. And there's a little wall there. And I thought, well, just, I'll be brisk through here. Well, it's a good goddamn thing I wasn't very brisk, because it locked up and dragged the inside rear wheel for about a mile. Total exaggeration, but like a good 100 feet into the corner. And I'm like, uh-oh. Like, am I actually near the...
Are you about to back this thing in?
Not even to back it in. Am I just going to understeer it? Like, I don't know how much grip a Grumman has around a corner. And you know this, but I think we've said this before. The audience doesn't realize. I get in these cars for the first time, and the first time I turn that wheel on a corner, the camera's rolling. That's it. I have like one corner to figure out what these cars can do, not crash them, but be quick enough to make it look dynamic. So I had a bit of a moment there.
And what kind of tires? What do they? They guess they just is there a universal tire that's supposed to be used on these, or do they just? They probably just do whatever.
I keep now.
Now I want to query the mechanics and learn all this stuff that
the tires were on it were like 10 years old, and I did air them up because they were supposed to be. I think it was like 50 pounds, and there was like 18 in them. So I did do that because #safety first. But I did have another friend of ours bitch that it had chrome hubcaps on it. That's as far as I noticed. Like, it's not supposed to have.
Yeah, it's got the Baby Moon hot rod hubcaps.
I just showed up. I'm like, it's a Grumman. It also had like a yellow spinny light on top, which was super cool.
Non-typical. I think.
I don't know. I don't know. But I'm not
an expert on these things.
I'm seeing Grummans on the road now. Now that I've interacted with one of these cars and I think it's cool, now I'm noticing them everywhere. And a lot of them have LED headlights, like the drop-in seal beam LEDs. So at this point, I don't know if there's anything standard on any of the cars. I think it's more like it's 35 years old. Just
get it back out into the field.
Get it back on the road.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, you made history or something. A story that has not been told.
I hope everyone loves this episode as much. We had a lot of fun with the...
I enjoyed it a lot.
With the
I think people
space thing. Because Grumman is a defense contractor.
Yes. They made airplanes in World War II. And
canoes.
Aluminum canoes. They make also like the Frito-Lay, the larger size delivery trucks. Grumman also makes the bodies for those. They probably make like munitions or missiles or something like that, in addition to airplanes.
Probably. I mean, they're also credited now
seaplanes. They're famous also for a lot of seaplanes, flying boats.
Huh.
Yes.
They're credited with the stealth bomber, but they're not, because that was Northrop, which became Grumman, and that was done sort of before they merged. But they are Tomcat. There's a whole bunch of
F-14.
Yeah. I don't do planes, so you probably know this, like actual fighter jets, which is pretty cool, and the Apollo lunar module,
and possibly the rover too, but at least the module.
Yeah, I might have fucked that up in the script. We'll see. We'll let the audience determine that. But yeah, like they made the fucking thing that landed on the goddamn fucking moon. And then they did this and within 10 years did the mail truck. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. So obviously I went on Amazon and I bought an astronaut helmet thing. And then I bought an astronaut suit and like sparkly glow in the dark fucking light up shoes.
There's lots of companies that do crazy shit like this. Like Honeywell makes like
thermostats,
fans and thermostats, and also jet engines. Like GE makes refrigerators and jet engines, and there's a lot of conglomerations in Japan, like Mitsubishi, that makes Fuji Heavy Industries that makes God knows what, but container ships and head gasket failures, and airplanes, whole airplanes.
They do?
Mitsubishi?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think Fuji does.
Honda does. I mean, Honda makes
a small jet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, these industrialized concerns that make all kinds of things. Like Frigidaire is a GM company also.
It is?
Did you know that? Yeah.
Still?
Well, I don't know does Frigidaire, I guess it still exists. It used to be like the refrigeration division of General Motors was Frigidaire.
I did not know this.
Yeah. Anyway,
there's
the companies like Raytheon that make like radar for boats and also stealth aircraft, and I don't know.
That's so cool.
Industrialization.
I mean, remember the Rover stereo was Lear. I'm sure that was the same company that made the jet. I'm kidding. don't think so. Remember that we had a laugh about that.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Anyway, cool.
We deal in the finest vehicles known to man. Does Hagerty insure any LLVs?
Yes,
they do.
Actually, we did a search for that. We had the insurance guys do a search for that, and we did come up with a couple of them.
Really?
But then found this one. It was like the ones that we found, I think, were further away, and this one was just the new owner was so cool to live. She was like, he was just great and super excited about this. So,
well, now you know. Hagerty insures LLVs. But don't get any bright ideas.
Don't get any bright. Don't do anything stupid. Don't daily drive an LLV. No, I think honestly, I'm saddened that you didn't get a chance to interact with this thing while it was here, because it was here for far shorter than I would have wanted. I would have kept it. I would have kept it here. I would have purchased it. And just
okay, so what is the market
back.
value? Is there a Hagerty price guide discussion about the value of LLVs?
I don't think so, but I'm hoping that a lot more. It
can't be more than $11,000 if that's what they cost new.
In
1984.
I think the advertised price for this car was 17 or 18, and it needs a motor.
Really?
It needs a motor bat. Actually, funny story.
So they're collectible.
So in the ad, it said that it's burning so much. It's got so much blow by that they have a red hose from the PCV thing into a can of and it's like a soda can. It was something funny in there. And I started it in here with the exhaust aimed, which is out the side, accidentally at the carbon monoxide detector that I had in here. It was hours before that carbon monoxide detector shut up. Like, if you started it and put it in gear and immediately brought it right outside.
These have always, I remember them being stinky. I imagine they're exempt from emissions testing since it's run by the government.
Probably. It is by an order of magnitude the stinkiest car that we've ever had in the studio. And we've had your Mura, which is 112 different carburetors on it. We had a fuel injector, carbureted LM 002 Lamborghini. I mean, we've had some stinkers in here and old car. Nothing. I have never, every single time that car started, I was nauseous for 3 hours. Never, and fumes do not bother me. It was truly stinky, but the carbon monoxide detector was funny because I unplugged it and put it outside and it was just beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. I'm like, okay, I pulled the battery. It was still going. I think it's carbon monoxide powered. The shit that came out of it, but it was literally an hour with 4 fans in the windows and all the windows open before you can get the stench out of here. And it was still $18,000. I don't know what it sold for, but I think that was what they asked. 17, 18.
Who knew?
But now they haven't, so it was 140.
Man, Facebook Marketplace is going to blow up with people now because anytime you make a video about something, Facebook Marketplace, I'm sure people will be out there looking.
I should have bought one. I mean, there are some in private hands. I mean, I watched the Regular Car Reviews guy drove one years ago. But there are pretty few. There are now, of the original 140,000 made, there are slightly less than 100,000 still left in service.
Wow.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
That's a pretty low attrition rate.
I said that in the video. Yeah. Very. I mean, they really were long lasting. And if they only go 5,000 miles a year, that's not that much chance for them to crash. Hold on. I said in the video.
You said they had planned to retire 95,000 of them by 2029.
Yeah, the
so they're all
about to go. And so there is the U.S. Postal Service there's like a whole government Freedom of Information Act page, and I found a whole bunch of shit on the Grumman and in sort of embedded.
Did you have to file any FOIA requests in order to get information, or was all out there?
No, I just found PDFs of stuff.
And sometimes you have to file a request with Freedom of Information Act, and then to get the stuff you needed. And then they have to give it to you in 9 months' time or wherever.
This was, a lot of it was embedded in the sort of specs and the news releases for the NGDV, the new generation one from Oshkosh. But I found a whole article on how they're recycling them. So there's a whole program to recycle. There's a ton of cars to scrap.
Facebook Marketplace. Step one, Facebook Marketplace.
Wouldn't it be cool I just think it would be so cool to have one of these things.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a small number of people who would be very excited about it.
I would have never thought I didn't even know what the thing was called. And now I would genuinely own one. I think I have a
picture of one. I was actually, now that I think about it, it's probably a Utilimaster, but it was I was looking through the window of a Ford dealership service department, and there was one in there, and I was like, what the hell is an LLV doing in a Ford service bay? Now, I think it was probably one of the Explorer-based ones that was in for maintenance in rural Oregon. I think I was in Newport, Oregon or something like that.
They
walking.
look really similar.
Yes, they
As
do look,
witnessed by the
especially
fact-
from the back.
As you just saw an insert in the video that you identified as.
Well,
that's
it's the Ford Explorer steel wheel. It was very easy to recognize.
Rob finds those inserts. I don't. But we don't have time to fact check. What? No, I mean, hopefully I didn't get anything else wrong. But so cool, so cool. But and also you should go watch that was the other thing that we were hysterical laughing watching is all the compilations of crashes. Those things. Because I was like, we had this section about how some of the problems with the LLV were they sucked in the snow because they were real drive only. They had no ABS, so people were complaining about stopping distance. They had no real crash protection. And so I'm like, I have this whole section of the video where I'm like, they suck here, they suck there. And I'm like, what are we going to be seeing when I'm saying this? So I just did a search for like LLV, like fail video. Oh, there are whole compilations of them. And of course there are. There are 140,000 of these on the road, and everyone's got a camera, and they're everywhere, and they're never, oh my God, some of them were hilarious. Like one that was, I think there was a small clip of it. Clearly, the postal worker had left running and got out, but with the wheel turned in reverse and got out. And the thing is just going around this parking lot, like there's a tree and another car, and it's just going around in circle after circle after circle. And they're just running to try to jump in the thing to shut it the fuck off. And I'm like, well, it is a long life vehicle. It's going to be doing donuts around that parked car for a long time. Some just so cool.
Our foreign viewers may not enjoy it as much.
They did sell them in Europe.
Really?
Or something. I remember seeing something about,
no.
Well, Canada for sure.
Well.
And then I'm pretty sure they were.
Were they used for postal duties in Canada?
No, not. I don't know about postal duties, but they were used for some delivery stuff outside of the U.S., if I remember correctly. Somebody will prove me wrong and say it was actually something else that looked like it. But the other cool finding for me was that Studebaker, the Zip van. So I didn't realize that. First of all, I didn't know what Zip stood for.
Didn't?
No. Who the fuck knows this shit other than you?
I don't know.
Hey, Mike, did you know that what Zip stands for? So no one knows.
Zone
it's a zip code.
Improvement Plan.
Oh, he knew about the Iron Duke. Well, you. But the Zone Improvement Plan was zip code. And so when one of the vans one of the purpose few, to your point off camera, you sort of, one of the holes in my narrative was I said this is the first real purpose-built mail vehicle. Not really. They were all sort of adapted, but Studebaker put forth their solution for a mail vehicle, which became known as the Zip van, because it was introduced the same year as the zip codes were. And the Postal Service came up with this character. It depends on who you ask, either Mr. Zip or Zippy. And it was a cartoon character sort of used to encourage people to use these
zip codes instead of the old system, which consisted of it would be a place followed by a number of digits. So like before, I grew up in Oakland in 94619, and that used to be known as Oakland 19. And so the last two digits of your are now your zip code used to be preceded by the town and then those two digits. Yes.
What I love about the zip code that no one seems typically don't know is that zip plus 4, you could literally you can write zip plus 4 of an address, and that's all you can write on an envelope, and it will get to that person.
Yes.
You don't need anything else. And so the postal machines, when they're reading an address, start with the zip plus 4, or start with the zip, and then go back city, state, and whatever, and it will read only so long as it takes to get a full address. And a zip plus 4, done. It won't even read everything else. So I can send like Derek Tem hyphen 1313 Mockingbird Lane, fuck you, California, Tucky, and your zip plus 4, and it will get to you, which I think is very cool. I do not recommend trying this. I'm
interested.
Yeah, we should try an experiment.
Yeah.
Let me see, just make up a name, make up an address, and just put your zip.
Just make sure
4.
the country is correct.
Yes,
otherwise they're going to
do that first. Yeah. Your zip plus 4 plus Botswana, and see if it gets you. I don't think it will.
I don't think so either. I think it's going to go to Botswana, and then they're going to see that it's undeliverable, and then send it back to you in 6 months.
Probably. If not ever, never. But that Studebaker looked a lot like the LLV. And I thought that was really cool because I'd never heard of that or seen that thing. And to look at it and see the same right-hand drive, a lot of stuff, there's a lot of YouTuber content on the LLV that's just observational. Look at this, look at this, look at this, and wrong. And a lot of people are like, this was the first ever right-hand drive. No, a lot of the Jeeps were right-hand drive. And that Studebaker was also right-hand drive, which makes sense when you're delivering to things that are on the right side of the road. but you can clearly see where the LLV's influence came from.
And from the delivery vans that Grumman was already making, which look like enlarged versions of LLVs.
Yeah. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you for enlightening us.
Please go watch the video if you haven't.
A whole new group of people now need an LLV for reasons not related to dynamics.
Front page news. Grumman LLV's resale values up 0.03% this week. Thanks to
the one Grumman I would have if I could have just one Grumman would be an Albatross, which is a large flying boat. But that's just me. I think most people probably would rather have an LLV.
Whatever tickles your fancy.
Or floats your boat if you need a canoe. All right, off we go. Thank you for joining us for this week of the episode of the Carmudgeon Show.